Okay, hyperbolas have eccentricities just as ellipses had eccentricities. Horizontal hyperbola, A is the value that we go left and right for the vertices, C over A, the focal length over the axis length, semi-axis length is going to be that. And the same deal for vertical, C over B. So whichever letter matters when graphing the points, that's also what matters with eccentricity. And all that does is it gives you a relationship between either B and C or A and C. And if they tell you the eccentricity, you know this number and you know one of these two numbers, you get to create a proportion, you can figure out the other number. Once you know both B and C or both A and C, you can use A squared A plus B squared equals C squared. So that's how eccentricity is going to play into this. So find the standard form of the equation of hyperbola that has eccentricity 3/2, center at the origin, and a focus 6, 0. So this is the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros of focus. So just this part, center at the origin and a focus of 6, 0, that immediately tells me it's a left-right hyperbola, so that's some good information. It also immediately tells me the value of C is equal to 6. Alright, so once I know it's a horizontally positioned hyperbola, x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. My goal is to find h equals, k equals, a equals, and b equals. And currently all I know is h and k are 0, 0 again. And the centers of the origin. Kind of boring in my opinion, but anyway. H and k are whatever numbers they are. We have to count. So even if it was like 2, 2 and let's say 6, 2, we could still figure out h equals 2, k equals 2, and c is equal to 4 then. So it's not like it's more difficult to move it all at the center, but that's where it's centered. At this point, I don't know either A or B, but again, I do know C and I know the eccentricity. Since it's a left and right hand hyperbola, the eccentricity definition for this one is going to be C over A. And that's the most common mistake people make for eccentricity, is you use the wrong letter. So again, the direction it goes establishes which one of the formulas I use. This is the horizontally one. I'm going to use a C over A. 3/2 is the eccentricity. C equals 6 from my graph, and A is what I don't know. If I cross multiply, I get 3A is equal to 12, therefore A is equal to 4. Again, once I know what A is, then again, and I also know what C is. Once I know two of these three, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So A squared 16 plus B squared I don't know is equal to C squared 36. We slide the 16 over, we get B squared is equal to 20. And that's what I need, B squared equals 20. And I could take the square root of 20 if I felt like it, but I got to square it anyway in my answer, so leaving it B squared just fine. So H and K are known, A and B are both known, so I have everything I need to know. So x squared over A squared, 4 squared is 16, minus y squared over B squared, which is 20. Just realized I forgot to put my square on that. Equals 1. Come up with a new formula for hyperbolas that's not right, so don't listen to that. Real quick, just in case they use some terminology here, I just want to get this on the video. With hyperbolas, let's see. So if I have a x-axis and a y-axis, let's just do a basic hyperbola here. Let's just say A is equal to 2, and let's say C is equal to 3. So square root of 5 would be B, so 2.23, comma 2. So there's an asymptote, and there's an asymptote, give or take. So if I were to draw this hyperbola here that looks like this, again, in the problems that you're going to do tonight where you have to write the equation of hyperbola, sometimes you use some terminology. I want to make sure you guys understand these words. First word I want to give to you is the transverse axis. transverse axis is the distance, that's not what I wanted. This transverse distance is the distance between the two vertices that are graphed. The conjugate axis is how long it would be if it went the other way. So if they say conjugate axis, this will be
giving you the same thing.
Yeah, basically, the conjugate axis would be how far it would be if it went the other way. Right? If it was the y squared minus the x squared instead of x squared minus the y squared. So this is the conjugate. And the length of that is 2 times the square root of 5, because the square root of 5 is how far it would have gone up. For the whole thing, a lot of times they'll say the semi-conjugate axis. If they say semi-conjugate, they just mean just that much of it, half of it. So just this part of it's the square root of 5, that part's the square root of 5. The whole length of it's 2 times the square root of 5, but the semi-conjugate is square root of 5. The transverse axis would be the distance between the two vertices you actually graph. In the case of this, transverse axis length is 4. If they say the semi-transverse axis, they're only giving you half of this. They're basically telling you what A equals in this case. If you're going vertically, then when you're done with B equals. So the transverse axis is where the vertices actually are plotted. The conjugate would be had you gone the other direction. Okay? And that's the only words that we haven't seen. And again, in the case of these problems, if they give you the equation of the asymptotes, let's just say they have a problem that the equation of the asymptotes are y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 7 and y equals positive 1/2 x minus 4. Let's say that's what you have. Okay, what I want to get from that information, they tell me the equation of the asymptotes, the slope of the asymptotes is plus or minus 1/2, which means that b over a is equal to 1/2, and all of a sudden now you've got a relationship between b and a. If you know one, you can find the other. All right. If, let's say that you know this is true, and you also know that c is equal to, let's say, 6, but you don't know either a or b, right? b over a is equal to 1/2, that means a is equal to 2b, right? So when I do a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, I know that 2b squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So 36 is equal to 5b squared. Now all of a sudden you can figure out what b is. Once you know what b is, you can figure out what a is. They'll do that occasionally too. So again, if they give you the equations of the asymptotes or slopes of the asymptotes, that gives you a relationship between b and a. If you know one, proportionally you can get the other. If you don't know either, you should know the focal length. And if you know the focal length, this gets you a substitution to get you down to just one letter with c. Then you can find out what that is with the Pythagorean theorem looking thing. And then you can go on to the proportion to get the other one. All right, so those are the only tricky things they do to you, using words you've never heard before, conjugate axis, transverse axis, or doing something along these lines. So just look for that kind of stuff, be careful with it, you know where you're going with it.